Tell Dexter we've come full circle. Welcome to Smudwup.
Just 1 minute to talk about Doctor Who. Just 1 minute, or maybe two. Welcome to YouTube, we're talking Doctor Who. For you.
We all start somewhere with Doctor Who music. Well, I say all, but for some people it just doesn't seem to register. Chris from Radio Free Skaro springs to mind, which is funny because one of the stories I'm going to be talking about in this podcast is one of his favourites. The first Doctor Who story I saw was The Five Doctors, and although I've since come to appreciate its score, the main thing that stuck in my mind at the time was the Horn of Rassilon sound. This was closely followed by Revenge of the Cybermen, the third story to be scored by one Carey Blyton.
Right, then we'll have to check every section. Come on.
Now, Carey Blyton isn't a fan favourite, but I've always had a soft spot for his music, and I also like the fact that he was able to experiment. The show took more musical risks back then. That corridor theme, for want of a better description, that you've just heard, just stuck in my head for some reason, and it was one that I took great pleasure in being able to pick out on my dad's keyboard. Now, as you know, I'm not a big fan of the Cybermen, but they have had some fantastic musical themes over the years, and I think that Blyton's is up there with the best of them. Now, Death of the Daleks was another story that I came across quite early on, and again, I just liked the score. The way he helps to set the scene early on, along with those eerie sound effects, just helps to sell the alien quarry.
The Earth creatures are to be exterminated.
Now, I'm not sure that running a saxophone theme through a ring modulator quite works in this story, but I certainly admire the attempt. It's the Daleks' most jaunty theme that they've had in the series, and with that, I guess, goes a lot of their credibility as an evil force. But then in story terms, when they arrive, they are pretty impotent, so maybe it does work after all. Now, aliens chanting in dog Latin is not something you come across every day, and the underlying melody on this piece is actually quite pleasant to listen to. Well, at least it would be if somebody singing tunelessly hadn't been bunged over the top of it. And so we arrive in reverse order at Blyton's first score for the series, with crumhorns at the ready. This is the same mind, of course, that brought you Dalek saxophones. We now have medieval instruments conjuring up prehistory. Now, I know the tune can grate somewhat, even I will admit that, but it does provide an interesting sound, and like their cousins, the Sea Devils, they both get very distinctive and, I think, quite alien scores, which I suppose is ironic, given that they're homegrown monsters? No, that's too pejorative a term. Species? And finally, I popped that in just to show that he could be quite melodious if he chose to be, and also to point out that the person playing the clarinet on that piece went to my school. Just to remind you, there is a competition going on with these episodes of Mudwhoop with the introduction pieces. If you can successfully identify where I am in each case, what character I am quoting, and the story in which that happens, of course, and an extra bonus prize if you can work out what order I shot them all in. I have had one entry so far, and that person is correct. So if you want to enter, get your entries into min_dw@yahoo.co.uk.
Just 1 minute to talk about Doctor Who. Just 1 minute, or maybe 2. Welcome to YouTube, we're talking Doctor Who.